There's more, okay. I'd like to call the Board of Trustees for the Village of Weston to order. If we could all stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Thank you. Okay, roll call. Sherry?
Ermeling. Here. Feeny.
Here.
Maloney.
Here.
Reinell.
Here.
White.
Here.
Vaughn.
Here.
Sagami.
Here. Thank you. Let's see, hearing for operator license, number 4, open hearing and hear comments. Hearing is now open. Eric Mahomes appealing denial of operating license. Do we have somebody here for a statement? Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Eric Holmes, 806.5 South Third Ave.
Okay, thank you. We did receive in the packet, I believe, your letter, and then would you mind just
Yeah.
stating who you are?
Taylin Brooks, I'm the store manager for the store.
Of the store? And,
Point of order, Mr.
Yep.
President. Can we turn on the microphone?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's.
oh, okay. Nate's in a room. Keith, can you do that?
Power says it's on.
Just turn the mic towards.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, maybe it's the same thing. Everybody with the group here tonight, make sure your speakers are close to you. So pull them towards you, so it's this little bugger right here. Okay. All right, sorry about the interruption, but go ahead.
You want me to restate it?
No, well, you're with the store and
Yes.
which location?
So this is for the one off of Weston Boulevard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we are here to, pretty much appeal his, the denial of his liquor license. Eric's a great employee, shows up on time, is always there. He's never called in since he's worked for me for the 2.5 months that he's been with us. And he's a hard worker that has changed his life since his offense 10 years ago.
Okay. Okay, Matt?
Well, I just wanted to lay out what the law says about this. And the conviction was in 2003, and it was for manufacture, deliver of cocaine, which is a felony. The specific statute that was violated was the Class G felony, which was 1 gram or less. So the conviction was for the manufacture, distribution, or delivery of 1 gram or less of cocaine. The board can do whatever they want to do. And the normal newer requirement, I guess, of competent evidence of rehabilitation, which involved either honorable discharge or at least 1 year elapsing after release without a subsequent conviction, doesn't actually apply to this particular offense. So it's really up to the board to decide whether they think it's appropriate or not. And you have the discretion to do whatever you want to do.
Attorney Edie, why doesn't the usual standard apply in this instance?
Because the specific section 111.335 is the section that addresses the honorable discharge and or at least 1 year has elapsed since release without a subsequent conviction, that sufficient rehabilitation requirement. 111.335H, which is a completely different subsection, says notwithstanding 111.322, which makes it discrimination to discriminate against anyone for a arrest or conviction record. It is not employment discrimination because of conviction record to revoke, suspend, refuse to renew a license or permit under Chapter 125 if the person holding or applying for the license or permit has been convicted of one or more of the following: One, manufacturing, distributing, or delivering a controlled substance or controlled substance analog under section 961.41, parent 1.
Okay.
Which is the statute that he was convicted.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you don't have to go through and decide that maybe that would be appropriate in this case, but you're not required to do that.
Barb?
I guess, yeah, the reason I'm struggling with this is, you've got a person that has been employed or is employed at another place, and then he took a second job. And he's trying, I guess that was 10 years ago, and there's been nothing since then.
Correct.
I guess I'm struggling with denying it because something that happened 10 years, if we don't allow someone to rehab themselves and make themselves better, and we say we aren't going to allow you to make a living, I have a problem with that. I really do.
Okay. Anybody else? Lauren?
We haven't heard from Mr. Mahomes, is that correct?
Yeah.
I would like to hear what he has to say.
Sure. Go ahead, Eric.
I understand the law and, and from 10 years ago up to now, I haven't been getting in no trouble trying to work, provide a better living for me and my family. And holding by holding my job that I got now for over 4 years, and then picking up a second job so I won't get in no trouble or in not taking care of my kids better.
Thank you.
Yep, Yi? Yep, I'll just go to Yi and I'll go to you, Shane.
Just two questions for you, Mr. Mahone. First one is, prior to, you said you worked at your current full-time job 4 years ago, is that correct? For 4 years, what did you do before that?
I was working at Crystal Finishing.
How long were you there?
I was at Crystal Finishing before I went to Graphic. I was there a bit over 9.5 months. Then I was getting multiple jobs before then.
The second question I have is, what have you done since since your conviction in 2003 what steps have you made to change yourself since then?
I did multiple programs. Like when I was on probation, I had to go to the attic. I did programs that I didn't even have to do just so I could learn who I am as a person instead of going off what I was doing when I was growing up. So growing up, I was doing stuff that I wasn't supposed to do, so I didn't know who I was. So I took domestic violence, anger management, took multiple drug programs, Alcohol Anonymous. I went to AA, NA. I just was doing everything that I wasn't even asked to do.
Good for you. Jane?
Why are you taking a second job?
Got a lot of kids.
I'm sorry?
I got a lot of kids.
A lot, how many?
6.
Oh, that's irrelevant. That's
Okay,
totally
okay,
irrelevant, that question. I've had, up to 3 or 4 jobs when I was probably your age. So I wanted, wheels and bikes and all kinds of toys. So I just want to also let you two know that this is not a typical night. So, this audience is here is because of what I put on the agenda a couple months ago. So they're not here about you. So I don't know if you know that. So I believe that there's nobody else in this audience that's here concerned about you guys, okay? So I just want you to know that. They're not here listening, they're here for something else. So I just want to let you know that, okay? So you're doing a good job, okay?
I've got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Eric, or what jurisdiction did you commit the crime in?
Marathon.
Okay. And then, do you still keep in contact with anyone that negatively influenced you back then?
No.
Those are my two.
I would like to
Chief?
hear from Chief.
Chief, you want to add?
I do not have any personal preference one way or the other. I was following the ordinance and felony is an automatic denial, so
Mhm.
I don't have any sway for the board.
Okay. Steve?
No, it was 1 gram, is what they were saying, is that correct?
Less than, right?
That I don't have the amounts on that.
Can you just refer to your notes here?
Who's reading on the statute?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, no, then that's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I have the CCAP printout for the charge and
Okay.
for the conviction. The conviction was 961.41(1)CM(1)G, which is a felony G.
Okay.
And if I go to the statute, under felony G, under CM(1)G, it says 1 gram or less, the person is guilty of a Class G felony. So the conviction is for 1 gram or less.
Less, okay. Okay, that answers that. I think everybody here has had a question. So what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
The motion to, wait a minute. I have to close the hearing. Okay, thank you both very much, okay? You can take a seat and you'll hear the action here shortly. Okay? I had to focus back on the agenda, sorry about that. With nothing else, no more discussion, correct? Okay, made a motion to close the hearing. Now number 6, action on hearing. By Barb,
Yeah, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
the license.
to
To approve
the operator license. Second by Feeny. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, good job. All right? You don't have to stay, so.
You're welcome to stay.
Yeah, you're welcome to say if you want.
You're
I'm
good,
not gonna
yeah.
pick up more
All
than
right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. We're moving into public comments. And it will work with the people that are in the room here first. I have under public comments that several businesses, and owners, possibly residents and others, regarding the Schofield Avenue name change. This is under public comments. I have, quite a few that I'm gonna read here, and it's up to the board. Is this public comments, or how would you like to proceed with this tonight?
Only under public comments.
Okay.
That's where it is, and we have no other
Nothing
action.
else is on the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm gonna read, and then I believe most of these are requests to talk, so just in a kind of a random order here as we've got them. Yep, sure. I'm just gonna give them all back to you, right? Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just gonna give them all back to you, okay, so then we'll keep these. First I have, oops, sorry about that. First I have is Andy Sutton, 65, Andy, if you're here. Yep, you wanna just state your name and address?
Andy Sutton, 6504 Zinder, representing Sutton Transport, 8011 Schofield Avenue. We're disappointed that I'm disappointed that the business community wasn't polled about this. I realize it's properly noticed. We're all sweeping the switch. This went through like thieves in the night. This is a tremendous hardship on residents, on businesses, for a multitude of reasons. In our case, we have nearly 10,000 customers we have to notify. A few years back, we spent over $20,000 on a sign, which has our address on it, which I'm sure we'll have to change, which means we'll have to go to them and deal with that mess. Permits, all the like. I could say anecdotally that out in the county where the addresses changed, which you guys wisely didn't do, the Google Maps, online mapping, there's still quite a bit that does not work. A good friend of mine, it puts the pin at the wrong place. You might say, okay, well, big deal, these are residences, but here we're loaded up with businesses. It's gonna cause confusion. It's gonna cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to your constituents, to your local businesses here to comply, to change this. And despite what's been in the media, I don't see a benefit to the village government. It's gonna cost you guys money too. Everybody knows where Schofield Avenue is. Everybody does. I understand, you know, you're in competition with them, but this is just the wrong thing to do. It's gonna cause us a tremendous burden, a tremendous amount of money. And there's a lot of people that have business here that aren't here, that don't want to show up, they don't want to speak up. So I urge you guys to put this on the agenda in the future and reconsider this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andy. Just a quick comment on how this got brought up. If you don't know, I've talked to several of you. I am Mark Maloney, the president, the current elected president. I am the one that put this on, not staff, nobody else. I'm the one that had this put on the agenda. And I put it on because I believe it's confusing. I'm gonna hear a lot of stuff tonight, like we all are. I believe it is confusing. It's a little, and Andy pointed out competition. I'm trying really hard to have municipalities not compete. I think it's wrong for the taxpayer, wrong for the residents and the businesses. When any municipality competes, regardless if it's fire, police, it doesn't matter. I think we should be sharing, and in fact, I think we should be merging services more because there just isn't money out there. But on Schofield Avenue, on the primary road that goes through the village, I know this board in the past, I haven't always been on it at the time, but they've tried and some attempts and probably this happened. And it was either reversed, it's never been actually actioned on and a resolution and approved. So right now, that's where this is. So for this to reverse, it has to come from the board, get on the agenda to do that. So, but I want to just make sure that while we're talking tonight or when you leave, it is completely on me. Nobody else up here, no staff, nobody, it's all on me. I'm the one that did it, okay? So, Andy, we got Andy. I don't know, is Ethel here tonight? And Ethel, let me just get her name here. I just received this the other night, Ethel Whistler. And I don't, she's not stepping up, so I'm gonna read this into the record. Let's see, I think it was, just to me, I believe. Mark, would you like me, oh, this is Sherry talking to me. Okay, sorry about that. All right, here we go. Dear Village of Weston President Mark Maloney and trustees. The Village of Weston was born out of the city of Schofield. Yes?
No.
I know, but I'm just gonna read it as she states it. We're not gonna object here. Most residents in Marathon County relate to the street and area by that name. The history of this progress between the two municipalities, I feel, should be honored. Leave the road's name as Schofield Avenue. It is not a bad idea. The timing of it is not very friendly. I say this because recently our Marathon County as a whole grieved through a process to say we were or were not a community for all. My walk away from that county-wide decision was nobody said another could not come and be here. Now the issue of changing the road name does not help the businesses located on that street. I'm employed at a business whose address is on Schofield Avenue. I noticed a business relocate from a location on Schofield Avenue to another location on Schofield Avenue. Several small businesses are working on opening up on Schofield Avenue. I feel like if your village board changes the name, it would be like pushing these small businesses down. The overreach into the walls is not a welcoming act. The businesses help with significant revenue to the Village of Weston. Please do the right thing. Often, things do not need to be fixed until they are broke. The residual economic pandemic effect on these businesses whom attract workers and customers need some air. Honor the name, leave it alone, give a care, concern and help to a bigger picture. Please and thank you. I remain Ethel C. Quisler. That was sent to me, so that's in the record now. Let's see, the next one I have is Teddy Pike. Teddy, you wanna talk?
Of course.
Thank you.
Most of you people know me.
I just, your name and address for the record.
My name is Theodore Pike. I live on 1925 Schofield Avenue. Most of you here know me. And my father, if he'd be alive, would be an old man. He knew DC Everest. And I think I've heard my family talk about that DC Everest is the one that named it Schofield Avenue. And I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I heard. I have lived on Schofield Avenue since I was born. I really oppose this. And I think it should have been brought up as a general meeting. like I said, most of you people here know me. And my dad built the bar that is now Wiggly Field. He built it in 1932. And he didn't know if prohibition was coming, or prohibition was ending, but he built it small. And the reason for that was if prohibition didn't end, he could have lived there. He ended up, when prohibition ended, he had 8 bar stools. And I can remember, I'm kind of talking here, I can remember the Weston Centennial. I was riding on my dad's lap on a float past here on Schofield Avenue. And I think it would cost a lot of money to make the change. Maps, like the guy said, paperwork, people. I am really against it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ted. Let's see, I have another one here, Mr. Jim Pinsel.
Jim Pensinel, 5002 Arrow Street, Weston. I currently own several pieces of property in Weston, one of which is located on Schofield Avenue. Changing the name of Schofield Avenue creates a problem and does not solve anything. It also is a large cost for the taxpayers of the village. The taxpayers will directly and indirectly bear the cost to change all of the street signs. My count was 42 of them. And at a meeting last month, it was stated by the Public Works Department that the approximate cost is $100 to $200 in parts and labor to replace each of them. That's a cost of over $8,000, which taxpayers should not have to incur. The village claims this is being funded by a tourism fund. Well, guess where those dollars come from? Room taxes. Yes, your tax dollars are being spent on this change. All of the planning, codes, and zoning documents in the village will need to be updated. This includes, but is not limited to, zoning codes, ordinances, building permits and applications, conditional use agreements, contracts for public works, repairs and maintenance contracts that they have, and maintenance on our infrastructure, et cetera. Generally, these changes are not taken care of in-house, but the village hires an outside firm to make these changes and recommendations. We spent hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars on consultants and legal fees and costs in the past few years. Does anyone here in this room remember the development which was supposed to go in near Camp Phillips Road and Highway 29?
I do.
$750,000 was spent on advisory, design, and legal fees for that project alone. Haven't we wasted enough money on silly things like that? Stop blaming the previous administration. Take accountability for the spending approved today. We can't unspend those dollars, but we have the opportunity to ensure our money does not continue to be wasted. The village's website will need to be changed. All of their letterhead, business cards, envelopes, etc. will all need to be changed here at the village hall. Only to have the taxpayer again in fall of 22, when the village moves into the municipal Taj Mahal on Camp Phillips Road, change them. The tax roll took enough of a hit by removing a 20-acre taxable parcel and rezoning it as institutional land, which will never generate tax revenue dollars again. Does the taxpayer really need to pay more than we already have? Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the extreme cost of businesses. On the heels of the most economically hurtful times for small businesses since the Great Depression, now is the exact time you choose to create a problem by changing the name of the road. Restaurants and hairdressers were mandated to close. Many of them didn't make it. The few who did now have to shoulder these unnecessary expenses. This name change will have an impact to businesses in the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars each. It is so much more than changing our business cards and envelopes. We have customers. They need to find us in order for our businesses to survive. Some of you may recall the Marathon County readdressing project, which took place recently. Has anyone here had a problem finding a person's home or business with the new 6-digit address? I know I have. Google Maps, MapQuest, Garmin, they don't have a clue where 235559 Del Rio Road is, but type in 4505 North 33rd Street and even a paper map will point you to the destination. There's no way to actually measure the severe loss of revenue this will create for our businesses. When customers can't find the business, this is lost revenue. Perhaps we can help customers find us by saying, go past the 19 concrete obelisks with the W on them, and we'll be on your right. What about legal documents? Most all businesses are entered into contracts, leases, legal agreements, etc. Each business will need to hire an attorney to update those documents and have them resubmitted and signed. This cost alone will easily be in the thousands of dollars per business. Let's throw anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s towards envelopes and business cards and website and marketing material changes. And wouldn't you know, the cost for a small business is way bigger than it looked 1 month ago when the board made their decision. None of these expenses I mentioned even take into account the lost productivity and focusing our efforts toward changing these things instead of providing services to customers. Finally, I want to touch on the concept of erasing history. Schofield Avenue was not just a random name generated by the county. Schofield Avenue is named after a gentleman who was instrumental in the development of central Wisconsin. Dr. Schofield was a prominent businessman here in the 1800s. He and his family did a lot to create jobs and develop this great community we live in. How disgraceful to erase a historic piece of our heritage and remove his name from the road. It was said at the Planning Commission meeting earlier this month, and it is so true. The village board has lost confidence in the residents. The approval of an overpriced, overbuilt municipal center was just one example. This street renaming is another. You may say there was no opposition to that project, just like the renaming of the road. But who did you ask? I wasn't invited to a meeting. I didn't see any input from the citizens on this project. The board ran this idea through, and once it was done and over with, then they contacted the property owners. Not before the decision was made, but after. The good news is we know that you have the ability to contact us. So next time, there shouldn't be a problem discussing the idea before making the decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I'll call on more here if we could possibly, if you want to just say that you're against this, that's fine. But to repeat the issues, it might be quite a while. Again, I'm gonna take full responsibility. I've had several conversations with some, there's a chiropractor maybe here tonight or not. And I told him, Steve Ruppel, that it's my fault. Stubbed my toe. It won't happen again, not on my watch. So it should have been involved. We should have had some people talking. I don't know if the result would have been any different, but at least he would have known about it. So I just want to make that statement. If you think I'm kind of cheating and get the talk and you don't get the talk, just raise your hand if that's how we want to go about this. So,
Mr. President, I just have a question to either Lauren or Matt, Attorney Heedy here. If we were to change and I don't want to limit the amount of time for the speakers to speak, but I also want us to get to the agenda portion. If we were to limit it to like 2 minutes per person here, would that be out of order here? I'm just kind of curious as to.
I think it's been 5.
In the past, it's been 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah, and I think we need to adhere to that. I would just ask that if it's repeating, trust me, you'll be heard if you're in opposition. So, and is this all of the different, I'm recognizing a lot of names that I actually talked to, but then there's a few here that did not. So anyway, I'm sorry, you got one? Okay, sure. The next one I have here is Jamie Schley, if I'm saying that right?
Yep.
Okay, yep, Jamie. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of what Jim had to say was in my notes as well, but I'm going to ask just a couple of questions that I had of things that were kind of in the media. In one media story about the renaming, the reason cited was the loss of federal tax money when businesses file papers. That was not at all in the letter that we received. That was not one of the reasons that was cited, and I guess I would like to have someone speak on that.
Take that right away. I don't believe that's, no, right?
I don't know where that would have come from.
Yeah, no idea. I don't think that's true.
It was just on the WSAW website, and it was Barbara that was quoted from them.
I read it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then my second thing is that has any research been done, and can you speak to the speed at which you feel the new street name would be listed correctly in online search engines? I changed my business location from 2013 Schofield Avenue to 3806, brand new building in the business or in the marketplace. And for a year, I could not update my address on Google My Business. And it was because it did not recognize that just the number of our building, we couldn't pin it anywhere. It was probably a year before I could update that. So that's my biggest concern. And I think that's everyone's biggest concern, is that an online presence is what we all have. And if we are discounting that, I mean, I could give a crap about having to update my envelopes and business cards. That's minor compared to what I think our loss of business is by not being able to locate our businesses. So that's I think my biggest concern. And lastly, I guess, what would be wrong with just having the businesses change their city address to Weston, keep Schofield Avenue as it is? I'm able to receive mail at either address, either Weston or Schofield, and I think that could be a solution.
Okay. Appreciate the positive and some of the solutions you offered, Jamie. So 25, I'm sorry. Yep, Barb?
Okay, I guess, I think you said that I was quoted as having said that.
Yeah, it's on the WSAU website. I kind of.
Possibly be because one of the things that you actually commented on here is why don't the businesses just change their mailing address from Schofield to Weston? And that's where, when you fill out licensing, like your driver's license, your car license, people get confused as to where they are, and when they put down Schofield, the village of Weston loses tax money from the state.
It's not true.
Well, then
That the state changes automatically a lot of times to Schofield on our mailing.
Yeah.
We got a lot of trucks, they'll change it to Schofield. They're registered Village of Weston, but
well,
it's not true.
I'm just telling you,
Point of order, Mr.
Yeah, point of order.
yes,
Okay.
I had, okay.
After Barbara, you're done here, I think it would be best if trustees don't engage back and forth with the audience, just so that way we're not lingering too long here as well. Plus, this is the time for the.
Well, if they said I said it, I did, because we do lose tax dollars when things are filed incorrectly.
Just had one more thing
Yep,
too.
go ahead, Jamie.
The proposed change to DC Everest Boulevard, I mean, when I saw that, and I instantly thought, if there's confusion with Schofield Avenue, there's gonna be a lot of confusion with DC Everest Boulevard and DC Everest High School not even being located on DC Everest Boulevard. So if you're worried about visitors coming to town and thinking that that school is on that road, it's on Alderson Street, and so, I think that needs to be rethought as well.
Oh, and just a real quick point, we had different names first, and my first choice was Village, because I thought we should say something with Village of Weston. But then the more we thought about it, we didn't want to just center it around the village, and that's why DC Everest then kind of came up. And then talking to Everest, they were very happy, that they would have that name. Well, that's the call we got from Christine Gilmore. Okay? Go ahead.
I spoke with Christine Gilmore, and she said the village reached out clarifying that asking if DC Everest was trademarked, and she responded no. And when I specifically asked her, did you initiate the change? And she said no.
No, she did not initiate. I did not say that. We asked if she would have any issues, if DC Everest would have issues with that on there. And Keith Donner had that conversation with Christine, and it was fine. So we did not hear any negatives. I wanted to find out if there was any negatives with the name of the school on there. I guess my first thought was a car accident on DC Everest Boulevard. That would be a big thing for me if that would be, having that name with a car accident. Just the way I think, so. Okay. So that, she did not initiate it though, so that did not happen. We did that. Let's see, all right, James done. Trey Chapman or Troy Chapman? Chapman? Okay. Is it Trey or Troy?
Troy.
Troy, okay, got it.
See, my name is Troy Champlin. I'm at 1803 Schofield Avenue. And I've had that office there my father, we've been there for probably 30-some years. And like many here, we have a clientele basis, whether it's in town, out of town, that knows that address, has that address, and it's gonna be a lot of work, let alone money, to try to change this address system. And I'm not gonna hammer all the points that were said ahead of me. I think Jim and Jamie did a great job. A lot of this too, from what I understand here, I know that Schofield went through this too and rejected it, but to ensure prompt response from EMS, well, we're talking about one road here. And I've known the two gentlemen over here from police and fire for many years. They know where they're going. I don't think this is a police and fire issue. I still fear that it's the name that's involved here that is causing this whole name change want. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Steve Rupel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Rupel. I live at 8404 Windsor Drive, representing the business Rupel Chiropractic, 3807 Schofield Avenue. Thanks for having me here. It's my first meeting I've ever been to. I'm excited to come to more. And a few issues that I have with the name change. I'm a young professional. I'm the exact person. I did not grow up here. I am the exact person this entire area wants in this area. I opened Marathon Endurance back in 2014 on Schofield Avenue. And before I did that, my clinic was not in Weston at the time. And I was warned as an outsider, Weston is not open for business. So I was reluctant to bring my clinic here, and I did have some issues opening up Marathon Endurance that were not in my control at all. And now that my clinic is on Schofield Avenue, now we have this issue. And I'm obviously, with GPS mapping and stuff like that, that can be a huge issue because of what I do, and I think I do things very well. I pull patients from 3 hours away to come in. So that is a consistent problem for me. But I'm a problem solver. That's what I do as a person. And when I saw the sheet that was mailed out, there seems to be two problems that we really want to try to fix here. Number one is to end confusion, and number two is to create a better community identity. And I don't want to rehash what's already been said. When we talk about ending confusion, there's directional issues. When our GPS mapping, when is that updating? I foresee that being at least 18 months for that to be fixed. We also talked about DC Everest schools. If we really want to talk about naming it DC Everest Boulevard, that should actually be Alderson, because the only two schools that are on here are Mountain Bay. So that's a little bit of an issue. But at the same time, I think that it's not ending confusion. I believe it's creating confusion, where I believe the cure is really worse than what the actual problem is. And as Jim had said, that this could possibly cost over thousands of dollars per business. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's over 150 businesses up and down here. Sadly, not all 150 are represented here, and I'd like to think that it might be a majority where this is a little bit of an inconvenience. So here we are staring down the barrel of at least $150,000 to change this for no reason. And again, I don't believe it's ending confusion. I think it's the start of creating more confusion. But then also to create a better community identity. We kind of talked about where I live and work at 54476. Is it Weston? Is it Schofield? I know there's a right answer, but as far as the USPS is concerned, it's Schofield. So I think if there's any confusion, it has nothing to do with Schofield Avenue. I think it has to do with Westerners at Schofield. So I think that might be a bigger problem to be addressed. So I think that, again, my second point of creating a better community identity, we have some really, really smart and creative people in this area. And if it's not Weston, Schofield, Rothschild, there's a lot of creative people around here. What if we spent some of these room tax dollars to create community awareness. So like, hey, log cabin, you're not in Weston, but you know, if you go to Tommy's Car Wash, yep, sure, something like that. So I think there's more creative ways to go about doing this that aren't gonna harm businesses, that'll actually help them. And I think that if we came together, utilizing some community brain power that I think a lot of us have, I think we could solve a lot more than these two things that I don't think that need to be solved. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you. Marcy Furman?
I wasn't gonna speak, I just
Okay.
want.
Okay, so, okay, thank you. No, that's good.
Agreement with what's been said, especially Tim.
Okay. And just for the record, you want me to read it into, that it's Marcy Furman, 1815 Schofield Avenue, okay? But you'll get all those back. Sarah Pinisol.
I'll be super quick, I promise, because everything has been said. Sarah Pensignal, 5002 Arrow Street in Weston, representing Patriot Auto Repair, Patriot Auto Sales, and LL Bean Weston. So first, I want to say Weston is a really great community. I feel very privileged to live here. It is clean, I feel safe, and there is a lot to do. There's great shops, there's great restaurants, there's great outdoor spaces here. We have a lot to be proud of. I think the business owners on Schofield Avenue are frustrated that they weren't involved in the decision-making process, which we have talked about. And then Steve mentioned that there are over 150 businesses on Schofield Ave. I have signatures from more than 40 different addresses on Schofield Avenue and more than 50 signatures of people opposed to the name change. Now, I understand that is not even a majority, but may that speak volumes that this is our time, this is our money, not yours. And our time and money is valuable for us. It's time away from our families to update things. It's our hard-earned dollars. And some of us are going to have to pay for this 3 times being a Weston resident, changing our businesses, changing the municipal center when they have to change the DC Everest Boulevard, and when they move to Camp Phillips Road. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Cindy Russell.
Mine had to do with the request for consideration on the exterior upgrades for the public safety meeting or building. Do you want that now? Or do you want to wait?
It is public comment.
Yeah, you can do public comment.
Okay.
now. Sure.
All right, on the request for consideration by Keith Donner, it says that we have not received the complete list of items from the architects, but received a concept rendering the west building elevation. Have you received a list of items and the budgetary comments for this request?
We have, but we're not planning or proposing any action on those tonight.
Okay, so you're not gonna review the budgetary request at this time?
Not tonight.
Okay, all right, well, anyway, my opinion on it is that our safety building is not an eyesore. The village is already looking how to increase their revenue to cover expenses. I would like to propose to forego the beautification of the public safety building, which already looks fine, and use those funds to increase safety personnel, which would benefit the taxpayer the most. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. See, Morgan
Woodruff, yes.
Woodruff?
Yep.
Thank you. Woodruff, that is? Okay, thank you.
Like I said, my name is Morgan Woodruff. I live at 3727 Ross Avenue. I'm actually here to speak as a community member. I love our community. I think that it is one of the best communities out there. I actually moved down from Wausau to Weston. I'm extremely active in our community, especially as a young person. I look out for people, and that's just what we do. I'm also a server at Tyne and Cellar. I've been there since day one. I've served quite a few of you. You know who I am. I respect you guys, and I thank you so much for your business. During the pandemic, we didn't know if we were going to be okay. We actually kind of lost one of our businesses during it. We did what we could, and the people in our community gave back to us. They knew that we were struggling, and we can't thank you enough. Again, thank you. You held us up. You did what was right. Tonight, we've talked a lot about what's right and wrong, and I believe that your idea is a horrible,
horrible idea. You said yourself that you stumped your toe and you made the wrong choice, and I'm counting on you.
No, I didn't say.
Okay.
Wrong choice. Did I?
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, you're right. Go ahead. Sorry.
I misspoke and I'm sorry, but you know,
That's okay. No, you get to speak.
Okay,
I'll be
then-
quiet. Yep.
you said you stubbed your toe.
Mhm.
This is the wrong choice. This is completely on you, and I'm speaking to you. If you care about your people, you'll listen to us and you will change this. This will not come to be. We barely made it through, and now you're making life harder on us. You're supposed to be holding us up right now. The pandemic isn't done. We're not out of the woods. Take responsibility and please do what's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Let's see, Maria Kiefer? Maria Kiefer?
Just Marie.
Okay, Marie Kiefer.
I wish there was an A on the end, it would be more.
Oh, that's fine.
Marie Kiefer. I'm at 2106 Schofield Avenue. I own Verve Salon and Spa. I want to actually thank you for this opportunity. It's my first meeting also. And look at how many of our local business owners you just brought together, whether it's because we're in argument or opposition to something. Like, this is how we create change. I'm a proponent of change. I'm a hairdresser. I own a salon. We do change every day. This is how we do it. Changing a street name is not going to create change. It's going to create confusion. It's going to create upheaval. So as Mr. Ruppel had said, I think we can better use our time in a creative way to grow Weston and grow this community that we're talking about, because I'm meeting like 25 people for the first time who are my neighbors. So I also have a question. Where do we go from here? Does this have to go through because it was voted on? Can it be stopped? Like, what do the next steps look like for us and what do we need to do?
The next step would be this body of 7 would need someone, it was a unanimous vote, so somebody has to bring this back up, correct?
Someone voted on the prevailing side would have to bring up a motion to rescind action taken.
So it's any
Which
of
is a 2/3 vote, which means 5 people would have to, or 5 trustees would agree to rescind. And then there would be another vote, which I think would have to be at a second meeting? No. Okay, so it could be at the same meeting.
Is there, point of.
So let me just, okay,
This is Matt Eby, our village attorney.
do you have on the agenda anything about taking action?
No, not tonight.
It's okay. So you guys should be listening and not really talking,
Right.
okay? If you haven't put on your agenda that you're gonna discuss it as a board, you're here to just listen. So you should limit everybody to 5 minutes, listen to what they have to say, and that's what we need to do here today, okay?
Thanks.
Okay, so there is still room for us to create change in the final decision. Okay, cool. I just wanted to know that. And do we have statements from our first responders about confusion? Has anyone made public statement for us to look at about the confusion that you're talking about? So that we can, I mean, the statements that you are talking about confusion with Schofield and Weston, do you have that so we can read some of these statements? Or are we just, is it just on what you've been told, kind of hearsay?
Well, from what Matt just said, this is,
Yeah, they're not supposed to be talking about things
Oh.
together if it's not on the agenda for them to take action on.
Okay.
And so you can make comments, you can ask questions to have maybe staff follow up on if you want
Okay.
to do that.
Is there a way to get statements from first responders or some of the statements about the confusion that was putting this into place?
well, after this meeting tonight, you can call me directly.
Okay.
And I'll try to help or get staff or the EMPD or SAFER to help with that. But
Okay.
for me personally, it's more of just the name recognition, neighboring community. That's where that was. I don't think we have issues with, I can't talk about it.
Okay, and I was just curious, because I think without us knowing those details, it's hard for us to help solve the problem. So, I think any details that we could receive would be greatly appreciated. Again, I am in complete agreement with most of the statements made behind me as a business who survived the pandemic. I really hope that you do take what we have to say into consideration. But again, you know what? Thank you. You brought us all together and hopefully we're just a stronger front of small businesses from here on out.
Thank you. If I don't have a written comment, I can ask for an audience. Okay, so we're still under public comment. Nate, you can hear me? Nate is in a different office to make more room in here, and he's our IT director, and he's monitoring. Or are you, Michael, are you, or Jen?
Michael has it.
I can hear you. Michael, I'm sorry. There he goes. Is there anybody online that would like to speak or comment, Nate?
No hands are raised.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Go ahead. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
David Barnes, 5009 Schofield Avenue. I represent Total Rental Center, Total Self-Storage, U-Haul of Weston, and Red Clover Market. All the same points, the money spent and everything like that. One thing I would say, having my U-Haul business, it's hard enough for people coming to the area with the U-Hauls, but they can find me now. U-Haul, as far as how it affects my business, if you look through any phone book or you look online, you will probably find anywhere from 7 to 10 U-Haul locations within a 10-mile radius of here. There's actually only 4. Every time somebody signs on with U-Haul, they drop off, they get put online, they get put in phone books, things like that. And they decide they don't want to be a U-Haul dealer anymore, but they're still in there. They're still online. So it's confusing enough now. To change the name of the street, then the other point I was gonna bring up too, that goes with that, there is a local Yellow Pages. Their family actually moved here because their research to this area, their research showed them that one of the last places in the country that uses Yellow Pages more than anywhere else is this area. And they brought their family business, sold it in Utah, brought it to this area because they can still sell Yellow Pages ads. One of my businesses, Total Rental Center, I stopped doing tool and equipment rentals 10 years ago. I still get probably 20 calls a week, people looking for scaffolding, people looking for sanders and everything like that, because they're still pulling out their phone book, their Yellow Pages, and they're still paging through it. And in a 10-year-old book, I'm still there. There's a lot of people around here that are going to be really, really confused. People coming into this area that are going to be really, really confused by something like this. There's no reason to change the name of the road. It's been that forever. My business, my building has been 5009 Schofield Avenue in what used to be Weston Meadows since 1974. And I really, really don't want that to change. Thank you.
Anybody else here? Yep.
Jim Russell, 5907 Tricia Avenue. I just want to stand in unity with the business owners here. I don't have a business, but I can see what they're saying. Where some of the confusion does come in, you put down 54476 on a form, you get Schofield Avenue, or you get Schofield, Wisconsin. You don't get Weston, Wisconsin. That's the only place there's confusion. There's no confusion with knowing where Schofield Avenue is. So I'd ask everybody that's opposed to this change, stand up. I see a lot of unity.
Thank you. Thank you all. Anybody else? No. Want to talk?
No, I gotta go.
All right, thanks.
My name is Mike Drews. I'm with Showcase Carpets, which we have been here in Schofield, Weston for 40 years. We're against this change. We don't need the change. It's gonna cause more confusion than what we have today. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else in the audience want to speak under public comment? Third time I have to say this. Anybody else for public comment?
I just want to say,
Yep.
I told you that I didn't want to speak.
Oh, that's right.
I represent Fairman Orthodontics on 1815 Schofield Avenue. And I'm really disappointed that you didn't come to the business owners before you made this suggestion, but yet you asked DCF schools, but you didn't talk to the businesses that it really affects, and that's really disappointing. And secondly, if we can't change your minds, perhaps you should reduce our taxes to offset the cost to each one of us.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment? Anybody else want to comment? Okay, thank you all for your participation. I especially liked Marie's comment that you all got brought together here, not for positive, but for a negative, but we'll see what happens, okay? Thank you. And one more person that called me was a Holly Jorgensen, and she called me in opposition too. So she's, I believe,
State Farm.
yeah, State Farm, but I mean, the building, I believe, is Weston Plaza, I think, right?
4111.
Yep.
Schofield
So she, what?
4111 Schofield Avenue.
Okay, all right, so she, and I told her I would mention her tonight too. I think everybody else that called me, I think I said it, yeah.
I just want to let you know that I received a call earlier today from Chris and Don Rasmussen,
Okay,
also in opposition.
opposition, okay. All right, yep. Jane?
I'd like to ask all of you, please come to the meeting more often. Don't just come here when we have an issue.
We
We need
did,
your help, we need your input. We make a decision, we invite people, they don't show up. We'd like you to show up to the meeting and speak up. And I'll thank you for coming tonight.
Yep.
Thank you.
just so you know, we also video, I think when Yi and I and Wally Sparks were elected, we decided as a board to start videotaping. That first year, we contracted out, but then with the funds from the state, we were able to buy our own equipment and staff here. We now do this almost all the meetings, and you can view the meetings and some of the incredible excitement at these meetings every month. So,
It's
yep,
also on our website.
and it's on our website, so, you know,
Mark,
yes,
do you want the names that are on the opposition?
you're gonna submit that, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
so
make
if you
sure.
submit it to the record, right, to Sherry, yep, that'd be great, thank you. Okay, and you spoke, so did we get your name?
Abby Rubel.
Okay, okay, got it. I mean, you seem pretty happy there, I just didn't know if you guys knew each other, so, all right, Abby Rubel, and she, can I say you were representing DC Everest a little bit, or not?
I don't work for DC Everest, so I can't represent them.
Okay.
I spoke to Christine personally.
Okay, all right, so is that, Sherry, is that good?
So there's a question.
Yep, question, who's got a hand up? Ted?
I guess this doesn't pertain to a name change specifically. But I think the town or the village has wasted a lot of money through the years. For instance, the beautification project is a joke. Where I live, when I pull out, I have to make a turn to go north, and the cars are backed up behind me. I've heard brakes squealing. And
Point of order, Mr.
Yep.
I want us to go back to our regular order. I believe the gentleman, I don't wanna stop him from speaking, but I also think that we need to stick with our order as well too.
Yeah.
He has been given the time as well.
Ted, you and I talked about it, and I have addressed it with staff on some of the issues, so I'll follow up with you, okay?
All right.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for coming. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay. I know I think there's a basketball game on tonight too. Let's see, public comments. Moving on to 7, minutes from previous meeting.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Song, second by Feeny. Anything on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Let's see, reports, minutes from boards, committees, and commissions.
Move to acknowledge items 16 and 17 concurrently.
By Feeny.
Second.
Second by Zong. On the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Reports from departments. 21, administrator.
I had a brief report in there since you have reports from all the department directors. I guess one thing, some of my report got inserted in between where the attachment was supposed to be on the plan commission agenda. So you saw the presentation that was given at last week's plan commission agenda, though, so was not intended to be part of my report because it wasn't. Guess, we are going to be, putting in a newsletter. We were trying to ask for a copy by the end of the week. I know we sent, an email was sent out to the Board of Trustees and also I think to Chief Savage and to, Chief Schultz to submit an article by the end of the week if, you're so inclined.
I think there should be something in there.
Yeah, you should.
4 or 5 times. And if you just had something filed, some safety, that we could even rotate once in a while, just there's probably things out there that I think it should just be a spot in that newsletter all the time. Right?
Sure. Also mentioned that it seems there's gonna be some additional action being taken or pursued on that Green Mountain Metropolitan Sewerage District damage, claim, if you will, with a customer in Mosinee. So, other than that, I guess I will be out of the office Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to attend a conference in Madison this week.
Okay. Any questions? 22, clerk, anything more to add for Sherry?
A little bit of a report attached.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Yep. Okay. 23, finance. There's a report in the packet. Any more questions for Jessica? Anything more you want to add?
Nothing to add.
All right, thank you. Let's see, 25, Park and Rec. Anything more for Sean, or Sean, you have anything to add? Yep. Yeah, but it's not blued out. I know, but if there's no packet, I still do it? I thought it was
Well, that's been your practice.
okay, then let's blue them all. So, 24, fire/EMS, anything, Matt?
So no formal report, but last week was busy. Tuesday night, we had a great board and commission meeting. Unfortunately, the EMS contract for Village Cornwater was not renewed with Safer for next year, so at the end of the year, we will no longer go to Cornwater.
And it's a 1-year contract.
1-year contract.
We'll still have a partner deal, but they won't be under contract, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Did you get a reschedule date for your training at NTC? I thought I saw that on Facebook, that some training was canceled, or or was that Wausau Fire?
There was supposed to be a house burn today.
Yes.
But we canceled it yesterday because of high winds.
Right.
We're gonna try to do it Wednesday, but it's all weather dependent because it's in a very dense neighborhood.
What was the extent that advanced disposal over the weekend?
Just honestly, some garbage on fire that was,
Just smoldering?
Smoldering, yeah. And Deputy Chief Finke was wise enough to commandeer a front end skid loader, which we were able to use to offload garbage and put it out, so.
Okay. Good, thank you, Matt. 26, planning and development. I did that on purpose. Sean corrected me on fire and EMS side, but we'll just see if he gets that attention. I'm sorry. 25, Parks and Rec.
I did have I guess, pretty lengthy report in the packet.
Yep.
Just updating you on a bunch of stuff that's going on right now. Really, if you have any questions about some of the items on there. And we do have just one item on the agenda tonight for acknowledgement, which was the Yellow Bank Club.
Okay. Good. Any questions for Sean? Great news in finance on the pool. That's excellent. Now 26, planning and development. Anything more?
I have a report in there. We did finally get census numbers, so that is in there. 15, almost 16,000.
Okay.
Jen, is where can we find, where can we get access to the Census 2020? Is it online already yet?
Yeah, I don't know how much that they're behind because
Okay.
of COVID. So the number just came out a couple of weeks ago, but they'll start trickling now, I think. You're looking for like drilled down data?
Yes, that's what I was looking
Yeah,
for.
it'll start coming. They'll update the American community survey.
Yes, and also obviously income, et cetera. That's what I'm curious.
That'll still come, I think.
Okay.
Normally we get those week earlier, because I actually got the DOA numbers like a month ago already, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 27, refuse recycling update. We got Valerie on? Yep, okay. Anything from you, Valerie?
No, I'll probably have an update at the next meeting after we have this Wednesday, we've got our electronics recycling event. And then next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we have our bulk item drop off. And so I'll probably give an update on how those went.
All right. We got enough road closure signs and redirection stuff? Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. They were backed up by EMPD last time.
They've got it down to a science.
They do, okay. Yep. But the one sign missing was don't hang a left here if you're not dropping something off, because I did, and I was like off-roading for quite a while. Let's see, please, Chief Schultz.
I just want to highlight a few things in my packet. We set another record. So for calls for service, we had over 2,000 calls for service. In the month of August, for Everest Metro, over 1,400 in the village. Last month was a record with over 1,900.
What is a record?
Setting a record for the most overtime probably ever spent in our EMPD history, because we're gonna reach over 100 grand in overtime. On the heels of the finance meeting, which I sat through, I understand the finance restraints and restrictions. I'm gonna state publicly, I'm concerned about the crime rate. The village has had 2 homicides in your jurisdiction in the last 5 months. The drug concern is, I could spend hours talking about it. I ask that you seriously listen to what I'm saying, that the staffing needs to be addressed. And that's all for now.
Well, that's an awful lot. Those are records we don't want to be breaking. And, we used to get 200-300 people, applicants for one opening. And we're lucky to get 1, 2, or 3 at the most. So, Shane?
Can you find somebody to come and work?
Yeah, we're getting the staff filled. We're approved for 29 positions.
Right.
It's taking a while. 29 ain't enough.
Fortunately, we're getting already trained individuals from other municipalities.
I provided a lot of stats and nothing's changed. In fact, I pulled out a 2005 meeting minutes from joint finance, and it's the exact same thing I've been saying, and that was since 2005, so.
So how many officers do you think we need?
Well, to be average, which I think we want to be more than average in the village, is 36. That's average. High end is 42 cops for our size.
Is that one for how many people?
We're at 1.57 per 1,000. Our neighbors are over 2. So if we were to equally equate us to Rothschild's number of officers, we'd have to hire 13 more, 42. And if we were the same as Wassa, we'd have to hire 38, up to 38, so we'd have to hire 9 more. And if you do the math on the breakdown of calls for service, our officers are taking more calls than Wassa, because we're that much busier. I know there's been comments about we can't sustain things. Yes, you're right, and we can't sustain the level of service that we're providing either. There needs to be a serious discussion about it.
To that point, Chief Schultz, I would like it on the agenda for next meeting to have a serious board-wide discussion about sending some sort of document to Rothschild about a formal integration of our police departments. The worst they can say is no, and we're back to square one. Otherwise, and I've been saying that for the last 2.5, 3 years, most of you know that. The other thing is that as we continue to see more and more calls of service, more and more overtime, I am now convinced that the only way to maintain our calls of service is to go to a referendum and talk about and educate voters about exactly what the state has done by cutting us off at the knees and making it impossible for us to govern ourselves, and to give them the opportunity to agree to spend more on public safety. So those are that we can't continue on the path that we're currently on.
So you're even right now, and you finally were able to get caught up?
No, I have 2 in field training, a third one to be hired in October and another vacancy.
You're still in short.
Currently, we're not teaching DARE. I have no community service officer. Our events, we're struggling to even get the Halloween party organized.
And you just might want to add the police school liaison officers are now in the schools.
We had 3 gun-related calls within 24 hours that I was involved in because we didn't have enough staff. It's a real thing, so.
Can I ask a question though? I mean, even if Weston agrees to increase our funding, we would still have to go back to Schofield and also Town of Weston to continue those discussions as well. Am I understanding this correctly though?
Yeah, Schofield has the same funding issues you guys do. It's across the board.
Schofield is asking for it to be capped right now.
Yeah.
Weston, Town of Weston is already capped, and Schofield is now asking to be capped, which would then put all the growth onto the Village of Weston.
That's what I was referring to here. I definitely agree with Chief. I don't want you to feel like I'm against it. But I guess that's something that we should probably have a serious discussion about.
Just one more thing, Mr. President, if I could, I just wanted to take one little excerpt out of a July 19, 2005 meeting. Consensus was that we do need more police officers, but it was a question of where the funds are that we can do it. We could apply some fund balance, but that would just ease a burden for one year. I mean, it's the same thing. There's no community service officer in 2005, when the same thing in 2021. Staffing levels were at the bottom. This was in 2005. Same things in 2021. I don't know. It's got to be, at some point, there has to be it addressed, or you're gonna.
Can I ask another?
I hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Chief, can you share with us in the last 10 years here, how many new officers did were you granted or the positions were funded?
When Mr. White left, we added 1 that brought us to 25. In 2017, we added 2 that brought us to 27. In 2018, I added a school officer that's funded 75% by the school. And in 2019, there was 1 added that brings us to 29.
And to be average, we would have to add 7, is what you're saying.
To put it in perspective, with 29 sworn, that would be about right for just the village without the city. And we had 500 calls for service in the city.
Clay, you may want to mention too that not all 29 people are in squad car and driving around the village. There's ancillary things that they're taking care of.
Most of the summer, other than today, our last rotation were 3 on days, 3 on nights. That's it.
Mr. President, just one more question. To fund 7 officers, that would be $100,000 per officer.
Correct.
So it'll come out to be an additional $700,000 that we would have to find. Okay.
And it's, you would actually need 3 to do a full shift, correct? Or
You need
is it 2 now?
about 5 or 6 to put 1 on the road 24 hours.
Right. Oh, is it 5 or 6? Okay.
So, but I do understand, I've followed the budgets, I understand it, I've been here long enough, I get it. I just would like one conversation about it.
We're gonna have to look at our priorities. I mean, safe community is paramount.
And Chief Savage, the same thing is being felt by you guys.
So when Safe Reformed, we started with 62 people. We're at 41 now. And our overtime budget has already set records for this year. So
How many do you have, how many paramedics do you have, or EMTs, and how many total staff do you have again?
42.
42.
So basically a reduction, so basically losing a third in 15 years, if my math is right?
Since 2014.
14.
Wow.
There's several firefighters that are working over 80 hours a week.
Oh, by far.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Week after week after week after week.
A question to Chief Savage. I'm sorry for going back here, but are we decreasing, are we having not enough funding to fund those positions, or is it not enough people applying for those positions?
We're burned on a bone. Our department relies extremely heavily on part-time people who also have full-time jobs. So they're working 40 hours a week somewhere else, and then they come and work a 24-hour shift with us, and they're up for 24 hours, and they're expecting to go back to their other full-time job. And they're just, they're burning out.
And we are a training ground.
Yeah,
We are,
absolutely.
Because we are primarily part-time. We have, how many, full-time right now?
13.
13. And if they can't get if they can't get into full-time, they'll take another job somewhere else full-time, and that's where we lose a lot of them, and the burnout. That's the biggest issue. Go ahead.
I know, if I recall in the past here, we had meetings where department heads were able to come in and talk with the board about their needs, about priorities, their, et cetera, so the board can actually hear it. Is that something we can do in the near future here? Just kind of a thought. I mean, I wouldn't mind
absolutely
putting scheduling an evening to listen to to all department heads as well, so we can weigh the priorities, obviously. But I thought we did that in the past here, whether it was this term or the term before, I couldn't recall.
I mean, that was the first thing that I did, immediately after I had my first selection, and unfortunately, I haven't, done that since, and that's on me. But, yeah, I completely agree, trustee Zhang, I think that DC Everest, school board has a strategy retreat. I think that would be something that we should adopt.
We've had those.
Yes.
We've had them, we've adopted them, and, we probably haven't done.
Those, they're board retreats to do.
Yeah, board retreats, yep.
I would, if we can, trustees Lagami,
That's okay, go
but
ahead.
just during your last time, if we can, I would love for us to do something like that, just so we can hear their thoughts.
Hushain?
I think we should invite other community in here also. It's not just us. I think the Schofield should be here and Town of Weston should be here. And they should listen. Although I know they said they should be capped and this and that, that's understandable, but everything I think has a limit. I'd like to see more people to stand up, like tonight that lady said, I feel safe in this community. I'd like to hear that more often from our residents.
And not only that, just my one of my pet hates. The way that the state has set up its funding not only takes out all municipalities of our size at the knees, but it also compounds it by breaking our backs and not allowing us to raise the necessary money, because Weston is hardly a tax and spend municipality. I know some people may disagree with me, but looking at some of our counterparts throughout the state, we're very fiscally conservative. So we need the freedom to do that, and the state refuses to let any municipality do that except via referendum. But that's a whole other thing.
We'll have those talks on a board retreat, okay?
When?
All right, let's set a date right now.
There are officers by us, we've been noticing in the last, I don't know, year, it sucks. The people, I mean, we had some people that were, it was, concerning for us. And it was the neighbors that called the police on them. And then we found out that it was the woman that was feeling unsafe, and the police came and they said, yeah, they're both unstable and we know them. They had a warrants out for them and they couldn't do anything with them. And we stood there, it's like, well, what are we gonna do? I mean, as the business owner, we want them gone, and we're going through the process of getting rid of them. But it's not fair to the neighbors, it's not fair to us, and yet here they're wasting time not being able to deal with that. And I think we need to really, really, really look at the priorities, and I'm sorry, but we got stuff tonight where Mike's talking about his capital, the expenditures for equipment and what his plans are. I'm saying, why don't we have some way of just saying, okay, we're gonna have 3 cops in 2 years. Then we're gonna have 3 cops in another 2 years, or whatever it is. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying we have to just make it a priority and fund it. And I know you're not happy about it, because
It's nothing I can do, it's a
Right.
referendum.
Right,
That's the way that you have to, and it's the board has to get a referendum, I can't find the money. There's,
So,
putting it off isn't gonna do it anymore.
right, we're at a make or break point. So, just looking at dates, what about Monday, October 11th? Yes, putting it out a few weeks, but
This way we can invite surrounding municipalities, if they want to come in, we can invite the public and tell them what's going on. Set it for 6 o'clock like usual.
That's Planning Commission.
Public Works and Plan Commission.
Okay. I also don't think we can act on this yet here, because we're still under report. Well, no, but we can. I know, but that would be a different. Just,
You can always enter it at the bottom where it talks about, additional agenda items for the next time.
Thank you.
Or we could do a doodle poll and find out, you know, who's got X amount of time. So. All right, 29 Public Works, Michael, any more to add or any questions for Michael?
No, I guess I guess Steve kind of alluded to it. I know not at this meeting, but probably another one coming up, we'll start talking about the capital improvement plan. I know we've talked about it at some of the Public Works meetings, so I did have kind of a draft of where we're at with the 2022 through 2026 capital projects. So if anybody has any questions right now, talk about those, otherwise we'll go into more detail with those.
All right, thank you. 30 Technology, Nate? Anything more you want to add?
Nothing to add.
All right, any questions for Nate? Okay, thank you. Work product transmittals, 31 August building permits.
Move to acknowledge items 31 and 32 concurrently.
Second. Moved by Feeny, second by White. Correct? Any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Consent agenda, 34, 35, and 36, all together or separate?
Yeah, motion to approve 34, 35, and 36.
Second.
Motion by Ermeling, second by Feeny, on the discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Ordinances, number 38, ordinance number 21-028. An ordinance to amend sections 2.601 surplus criteria and section 2.602 disposition of surplus property.
Move to approve ordinance 21-028 as written.
Motion by Feeny,
Second.
second by Manel, on the discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 39, ordinance number 21-029.
Move to approve ordinance number 21-029, an ordinance to amend Article 10-III hunting section 10-301-4A permitted activity zones. I believe it just changes the name of the committee that.
Second.
Motion by White, second by Zong, on the discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 40, ordinance number 21-030.
Motion to approve ordinance number 21-030 and ordinance to approve the zoning of parcels of land. Second.
Motion by Ermeling, second by Zagami. Anything on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Resolutions 41, resolution number 2021-024, a resolution to levy special assessments for the Zinder Street Utility Extension Project. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by,
Number 2021-024.
move to approve by Zagami,
Second.
second by Feeny. On the discussion.
Have we taken possession of these, Mike?
The utilities, yeah, the water and sewer mains.
And there was no other costs associated with the dewatering or any of the problems?
Nothing that ended up coming through to us, no.
They ate it all.
The contractor did, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good. Any more on discussion? Thank you for the mint, by the way. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. He had some kind of a Werther's thing here and I kind of put my hand out and he gave me one that really helped. All right, thank you. Let's see, moving on to 42, unfinished business, update on American Rescue Plan ARPA funds. Anything to update?
Nothing to.
Okay. It just seems like, I think we're just rolling that forward every meeting, just to hear if there's anything new.
Yeah, we're waiting for the final, instead of the,
Interim final?
yeah, we're waiting for the
Yeah.
final, not the
Okay.
interim final.
So the final to the interim to the final to the final?
Pretty much so. 43, exterior upgrades to the public safety building and possible additional items for building upgrades. Before we start, I've got a note here from Gail Marshall.
Likewise.
In opposition, you did too. I also got a note here this evening, just before the meeting started, for finance from Steve Cronin, saying the same thing. And I think that's it for me. Anybody else?
Just to elaborate on the comment, I actually received a phone call from Gail Marshall.
Okay.
He's feels that the money that would be spent on the upgrade of the exterior of this public safety building would be better spent on staffing public safety. That was her comment.
Same thing for me.
Yep. The issue, the problem, and I agree, and I wish that money could continue. But if we did it on staff, this is a one-time, facade or, I mean, there's gotta be something done to that building yet on the exterior.
We still don't have a total cost, do we?
Right, no, we don't. We're still in discussion on this. But I'm not trying to take away anything at all. And I know you know that because we have tons of conversations, but, I wish it would fund it and fund it and fund it and fund it and keep on funding. So, go ahead.
So I guess I'm not sure how to start here. I guess we're talking about the difference between capital expenditures and operational expenditures. And it gets into the issue of borrowing, which we can borrow under the current levy limit laws, we can borrow money for capital to our heart's content. Just, I mean,
We can
not
borrow for
necessarily,
debt.
but, I mean,
Let's
we
just
can
keep
borrow
it,
for
we
debt.
can
Borrow
borrow
for
for
debt.
debt.
I mean, not necessarily.
Up to our limit.
Up to our limit.
Up to our limit, yes.
$56
My
million
mistake.
we can borrow, yeah,
We're
so.
not proposing to do that. We're not even anywhere close.
Are, what's, do we currently have borrowed out for debt?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
But it's less than 56 million?
Yeah, we have 56 million available.
Oh,
It ties into our capital planning, which we have not been doing well, probably for 5 years prior, or 3 years prior anyway. And I know that our finance committee and our board have adopted a policy that they don't want to exceed 50% of our debt limit, our statutory debt limit. So even with our new building, we're not going to get to that level, we're just under it, based on the other planning that we had been putting forward. So as Michael brought up, yes, we have proposal coming up probably next week to start, or next month, to start talking again about how we update the capital plan going forward. The item that's in front of you would be part of that capital plan. Public safety building upgrades. These are things that were not included in the safety building remodel. Perhaps there was a thought that they weren't possible, shouldn't be proposed. But, there's been discussion that we would prefer, or from the board's perspective, that we want to look into this. So that's why it's here. We had seen the original rendition of the south elevations. But now we also asked to take a look at perhaps adding something on the west elevation by the entrance to the town and the court area. So that's what you have before you. We did not receive estimates from the architect until Friday afternoon, so we did not put this on the agenda for discussion about the budget at this point. I think the range of cost on the public safety building exterior is somewhere between 116 and 132,000 now with both elevations, painting of the exterior, the remainder of the exterior of the building, and then there's another outbuilding near the large building on the east side, the northeast side. So painting of that building was also felt to be something that should be done since it's so near the main building.
What's housed in there?
Secure evidence.
Which one?
Secure evidence.
Okay.
We're not talking about that building that you can see there. We're talking about the one that's behind.
Right.
Closest off the northeast corner of the main building.
Another two is a garage. Kind of, so it's a two.
Okay.
There were also some interior improvements that were not on the original scheme of things that we also asked for some updated estimates, for some estimates for. Those are outside of warranty issues and punch list items off of the the general contract that we're with Shearer on. So those would be in addition to what has already been done. So we're in the process of taking a look at what those may be, and we'll bring those back to next meeting.
Okay.
Can I make one quick comment? Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to thank Keith and the staff for coming over and looking at that and meeting with us. And again, the staff has done a great job with the landscaping. I can't be more happy. I just want to invite the trustees, if you have 2 minutes, to walk through the new portion or the unfinished portion, so you kind of have a visual of what prior to the next meeting. Stop in anytime.
Mhm.
Take 2 minutes.
And Matt, you or Josh are involved in your portions, right?
Yep, I was at the meeting with Keith.
Okay, that's it. Good. Okay, so next meeting, bringing that back?
Yes, unless you have other questions or comments at this point?
I'm good. Any discussion, any feelings here? Okay. On unfinished business, there was no, it was just an update. There was no action. It got some attention though, after seeing the agendas. Okay, new business, number 44, tax increment district number 2, project plan amendment.
So this is being proposed to, in the aftermath, I should say, of the Plan Commission action at last week's public hearing relative to the TID number 2 project plan amendment. That amendment had a couple elements. One was clarification or outline, I should say, specification of what activities could be funded if the board so chose to utilize financial capacity in the TID. Second part was making a boundary amendment, and that boundary amendment was to remove 2 small parcels, which are shown on the map in the attachment. 2 areas. There's one that's just west of, or east of Cherry Street, I'm sorry. And the other is at the southeast corner of Birch and Schofield Avenue. And it was described that the reason for proposing those subtractions was because those parcels themselves would have been too small in the TID to be of value for a larger development. So the most advantageous thing to do would be to remove them. So I think in the discussion, it kind of got lost that was another element that was desired. And right now, we're kind of under a timeline that we need to have, if we're going to entertain the amendment, and the amendment only in the form of a project or of a boundary change, this needs to be accomplished with a resolution of the village board by the 30th of September. So we need to move forward with a public hearing by the Plan Commission to rehear this on the basis of only a boundary change for the plan amendment with the recommended resolution, and then the board would have to adopt the resolution. That would then go to the Joint Review Board in October. It would have to be submitted to the Department of Revenue by the end of the month of October. That would make this deletion effective as of the 1st of January of this year, 2021.
Those are both deletions?
Correct.
Why then, on the one on Birch Street, I mean, it shows a deletion, this one looks like it's an add. Is that red line just in the wrong spot?
No, the deletion areas are those cross-hatched areas.
Right, but then wouldn't that then, okay, got it, yep, you're right, never mind.
Those were hashed out, the outline.
I got it. I just thought the red line should be below, but you're right, to delete it, it's gotta take it into the white, okay, got it. Never mind.
As far as the illustration, and there's also a boundary description that's part of this that
Parcels are named.
submitted as well.
Okay.
And there's no other parcels that need to be taken out besides?
Based on the TID's survival, no.
So across the street on Birch Street, to the north, directly right there, does that entire white space house that Schofield Oriental Market?
Yes.
It does, okay. So the Laporte property goes quite a ways there, to the east.
There's 3 other parcels to
Also
the
goes
south.
south.
Right, I know it goes north there, but I just wanna make sure that that whole parcel for Schofield Oriental Market is in that front white part.
Yeah,
Right.
when they developed it, they went one parcel deep for,
Does it go one more for, where Louis used to live?
I don't think so,
Is
they
that-
just
is
kind
it
of, that's.
for sale
kind of
now?
like-
Okay.
It was one deep, and that's where they kind
Okay.
of missed some of these.
Okay,
Where
It's
they
a
had
residence
multiple
on that
parcels.
parcel.
right, to the east.
Correct.
Yeah, I can't remember his last name, but Louis used to.
Laporte owned that, also owned that parcel many years.
No, I mean across the street.
Oh, Carter,
Louis Carter, yeah.
that's just sold that.
Mike Carter.
Yeah, Mike does now, okay. All right,
Question, Barb?
Now, I guess I was at the meeting. And I wasn't quite sure what all the objection was. I got it that they didn't want you to change the boundary.
Not necessarily the boundary, the detail on the money of what was the possible projects, that was the,
And, yeah, that they didn't like the idea you were going to, help promote a rental. kind of thing.
The incentives for a developer?
developers incentive, and plus the other issue was using TID money to finance, infrastructure such as road rebuilding, at least that's my feeling that I got from reading it. A couple of the projects that were mentioned in the list, if you saw the list.
I thought they didn't object to fixing Schofield Avenue.
Not with TIF funds.
They were outside the TIF. There were projects that were outside.
Okay, and because I was listening to it and I'm going, I wasn't quite sure what, and I know they didn't want you to change any of the boundary, but now are you adding anything with
No.
this?
Can't add any.
can't
You
add.
can only delete.
You can delete, but then what is the purpose of deleting them?
The purpose to delete is, like, for example, the one on Birch Street, I've had a number of, developers look at developing it, and the parcel that's in the TIF is very small, and you cannot combine with the other two parcels or three parcels that the Laportes own. So therefore, it causes issues with developing those lots.
Okay,
Because I can't combine them together, they're in two different taxing jurisdictions.
So since you can't add, you have to delete the smaller parcel to make those three together.
The idea was to delete it, but also still, because they were originally in there, that if there was something that needed to be done, to assist, because there's like homes on the property, things like that, that they could still ask for TIF money that would come before the board for approval.
okay, that makes more sense, because I
It's
wasn't
too
quite
tiny.
following.
I
I
had,
know you were talking about helping a project that wasn't in the TIF, and I wasn't sure which project.
you can't have building strata lines, and, we actually do have something that we kind of preliminary started looking at with someone, and the way that they have it situated, it's just, it's always gonna straddle that line, so.
Okay, so this new resolution, all it does is take those two out.
That's what we would be reducing the proposed project plan amendment to as a boundary change to deletions, yes.
Okay, and can you still do
Sorry.
Schofield Avenue then?
It would depend on what we're authorized to do under the current Schofield or current TID 2 project plan.
I did take a look at that, by the way. The original one does allow infrastructure it's very vague, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to get specific on this particular issue. So it named out the project or called them out, but the original one does also include infrastructure.
Yes, it does. And I guess we've been, we can certainly get a legal opinion, an outside opinion on whether that is authorized. I guess this is what we felt was the highest priority and we should be done with TID 2 right now.
As chair of the plan commission, I would suggest that you, big bold letters, boundary amendment deletion only, so that we don't get into this long discussion again. Because it was fairly well hashed out. I think the plan commission is not about to change anything other than perhaps I'm sticking my own thoughts into this, is to delete those two parcels to allow development. That's probably, we gotta make sure that that's it. because they're,
I guess, but I think because of the time.
Right.
Time constraint order right now, that's all we really need to focus on.
I agree, but we need to make sure that the public knows and the planning commission knows that this is all we're talking about. Partial deletions, period. End of story.
I think at the end of the meeting, it was very clear that they would have carved that out.
If they had taken the
Make that-
time to read and make, because there was a decision that was made down the line. There was no discussion made about the changes that the planning commission had made and requested, were made, and there was no discussion about those changes that were made that were in the amended or the second draft or whatever you wanna call it. So I bear responsibility for that because I should have brought that up. I'll take blame for that since we're taking blame for things. But it was clearly evident that.
Well, a month prior was a very confusing meeting. I sat as an alternate at that meeting a month prior and I was confused. If I wouldn't have had Michael at that table and Shane was there too, I was just confused. I didn't understand where this was going and it took us an hour and a half as a commission to get there. And then they finally had a decision and then, so they went into it with that, no knowledge to some knowledge, and then go to this public hearing. And it was very well attended, very well attended.
Well, I guess I was there and I was trying to, and I know a little bit about it, and I still wasn't, and when you were bringing this up, that's why I wanted to make sure that I understood exactly what you were doing. You're just deleting, but that's it.
Yeah, with this, what we're trying to do here now is we have a time restraint.
Right.
That this has to get done.
Right.
In this time spot. And if we wanna rehash the rest at a different time, that's up to, the planning commission, whoever's, there's three here right now. Well, there's actually, Husheng and I are alternates, so. But I think right now this is paramount. We have to get this done.
I agree.
And the sitting planning commission would have done that if that would have been pushed around a little bit prior to that motion.
I got the impression that they were, wrongly so, but I got the impression they weren't interested in.
They what?
They weren't interested in the details, they just wanted it gone.
I disagree.
That's okay.
I
think we could have been more clear.
Yep.
On it.
I think some of them made their mind already. There was no discussion there. I was disappointed, that's all.
Yeah. Okay.
Question?
All right, question, I'm sorry.
Has, on the Birch Street property, has there been any letters of intent, offers to purchase? Is there anything truly pending, or is this kind of a shot in the dark?
No, there's.
So there is a letter, you've seen letter of intent?
We've seen a site plan. They have an offer to purchase. They have not submitted for it.
Okay, and the other parcel, is there something pending on that one also, or is there?
No, that was just, there is property vacant behind that parcel, so.
Correct, I understand, but
We're
okay.
just fixing it so that we don't have that problem later on.
That letter of intent doesn't have to come here.
No, it doesn't, but I,
So that letter of intent
So
could
they're not
be in
even-
place.
Right now, they're not even asking for any TIF money or
Right,
anything
right,
like
right,
that.
right.
So
All I'm
that
trying
would
to
be
point
the
out is
time
that-
it would come to you guys.
Okay.
In the meeting, there was a lot of questions of uses of funds or what the purpose was. There's a lot of distrust. And what I'm trying to say is that if it's easier or simpler to say, we need to to take this parcel out because there's a pending offer to purchase for a development on that site, period. There won't be any discussions, whether on the planning commission or people that are attending. I don't think the people had that understanding at the meeting. I'm just saying, I don't think that was the
Well,
case.
we had talked about it at the previous plan commission meeting. It just didn't come up again.
Right.
So, and we didn't have a chance to even say anything about it. And this may, I don't know if it's gonna come to fruition. There's a lot of issues out there with people getting, building costs, things like that. We have sat down, it's a great plan, they wanna go forward with it, but it's similar to the quick trip that you just saw. They went through the whole approvals, they don't know if they can build it right now, just because of getting the materials, things like that. It's expensive. So they're.
You mean on the Lebacan site?
What?
The Lebacan site over there? Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they've got about 50 other sites going on.
Well,
They're
also
trying
do their
to,
stuff
they're trying to
in
figure out their
advance.
priorities, yeah.
But they also said, it may be 2 years out, just because of
Yep.
the cost of things. This company is doing their due diligence, they have a site plan, they've sat down with us to kind of go through it. They've done all their surveying, some of it is just contingent on,
I'm just saying it would give more confidence to the people on the committee as well as the people that were in the audience if they were relatively sure that there is something pending there.
But
So we have an understanding as.
you're not gonna get that along there. The whole idea is the TIF district, anything that anyone would apply for TIF money, that would have to come to the board and the board would be the final say on that. And that's something the plan.
I understand that's what your position is. That's not what the people in the audience were
Well, the
comfortable with.
plan commission feels like it needs to come through there and the board has the control of the money. That's the TIF.
I'm just saying.
I don't think there's gonna be an issue. When this comes up to the planning commission, it'll get approved. I don't believe that's gonna be an issue, period. There were several members at the end, after the motion was made, that said if I would have known that, Gary Gart, one of them, that they would have pulled that
There's
out.
a bit of look of surprise in his eyes, like.
Yes, it was, yes. Keith, do you have something to say?
I think because of what we're trying to say and explain, and it's maybe not, because of the timing of our ability to make these changes in the property, that the amendment to the boundary and the time that it takes effect. If we didn't approve this, and someone comes to our door on January 1, they wouldn't be able to do anything with that parcel until another year. So we have to be somewhat proactive, is really what it is. So that was the reason these smaller parcels were earmarked or tagged as being logical ones to remove.
Okay, just a quick question.
Yep, E?
So is staff just looking for us to make a motion to approve the joint meeting, that's what I'm hearing, looking here, is that correct here?
Right, we'd be asking you to schedule a joint meeting, or we would schedule a meeting, you would schedule a meeting of the village board, and then we will be contacting the plan commission for a meeting and to conduct a public hearing to rehear this project plan amendment with only the boundary amendment as the item.
What are we looking for the date?
We were looking at
The 29th.
29th, a week from Wednesday.
So I'll make the motion to approve the joint meeting of the village board and plan commission for the plan commission's rehearing of TID 2 project plan amendment, which only includes the territory removals and associated boundary amendment as promised for the original project plan amendment.
Yeah, second. Motion by Zong, second by Feeny. On the discussion. On the discussion, we only need 4 from each. 4 from the commission and 4 from the board to have a quorum, to be able to do this. So.
Gotta have a meeting on it though. You gotta have
Yeah,
a
I
public
know.
meeting for that.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not gonna get everybody. It's not a planned meeting. It's a new meeting. Go ahead, Barb.
Well, I would hope there would be more board members.
I would too.
Than what are on the board and on the committee.
Commission, correct.
Cause I was the only one there this time that was not either ad hoc or.
You had 3 there. 1, 2, 3. No, you had 4 there. You were the 5th. Yep.
Right. So there will be action that the board needs to take too.
Yes.
So the plan commission will hold their hearing. There'll be a resolution and then that will come to you and you'll have a document too that needs to be done. So that needs to be at the JRB.
Okay, that sounds good. So that's discussion,
Now, when
one
is
more?
that again?
What, September 29th at what time?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
That's a Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday night. Yep. White, excuse me?
Are we having a joint meeting so we can?
It's a joint meeting.
Yes, it's gotta be a joint.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that.
Timing is critical.
And it has to be on Wednesday because it needs to be a class, 1 notice, so it has to be 7 days in advance.
Mhm.
That's why it's the day.
Any more in discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 45. SCADA system design contract. Am I saying that right? SCADA?
Yeah.
Okay, SCADA.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami,
Second.
second by Feeny. On the discussion.
It's to AECom?
Yes? Hearing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 46, Ross Avenue and County Road X Camp Phillips intersection design.
Move to approve the recommendation of a roundabout.
A move to, motion made by Feeny. Second by White. On the discussion.
Is it 50-50 cost with the county?
Yep.
Correct, yeah, it's the proposal for the design cost split.
Isn't this the big thing? Isn't state jumping on this too with roundabouts and broadband? Isn't that their big thing right now?
State did a report on it and they did an excellent job.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you can't get an officer, but put a roundabout in or broadband all day long.
Yes.
I'm serious, all day long, they'll jump on board all the time. What?
Don't make it too confusing.
Yeah.
They always.
I think
I got a
it's,
question.
go ahead.
And there's no concern with not having a stop there as far as traffic coming through?
Nope.
Right next to an elementary school?
The study, the touches on a roundabout, and I've talked to Clay about this, before Clay, I talked to Wally, we've been in discussion. The touches on you're smiling right now, so, should I let you talk first?
No, I agree with what you're saying. I just personally roundabouts just give me like a.
They're all well and good until someone drives over.
Well, I'm concerned about having
It's very difficult for people that are not used to driving them.
They're roundabout, that's because the property's gotta get on them, on there. Yes.
Right, but I mean, the school is okay with the roundabout where the traffic
The
is not
buses?
coming to
Yeah,
a stop?
the buses.
You're not using those that interest
Yep.
anymore.
This is a double lane, not a single lane like over on, where I have to go through
It's
all.
a hybrid.
Yeah, what?
It's a hybrid, cause Ross Ave.
So it's
Ross Ave
electrically,
is
it's
one lane,
it's got batteries, what?
Well, Ross Ave is a one lane,
It's a hybrid.
and then, Camp Phillips would be 2 lanes, I guess.
So Green Bay and De Pere's got like 60 hybrid
Yeah.
roundabouts, okay. I mean, the touches on an accident here, they're not T-boning, they're just grazing if there's a touch.
I'm talking about kids getting squashed on the sidewalk or something stupid. I'm just saying that having kids along there, it just seems,
That's completely fenced in there.
That's
The
fine.
the kids.
as long as the school's
The bus
okay.
area and then everything else is entered off of the south side.
I'm not an expert in this, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
having trucks and buses and everything.
Every single.
Husheng?
At that intersection, at any intersection, as it is today, you can have 7, 8 different accidents.
Right.
With the roundabout, majority of them is just robbing each other.
Right, and I'm okay, I understand that, we talked about that on other locations, 15 years ago, I think, when we were
Right.
brand new.
Right.
But I'm just saying that having a dump truck come to a stop at a controlled light is different than have one going around a curve while kids are standing there walking or whatever on the
They are
sidewalk.
not using that interest.
I hope. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen someone walk to school on that particular road in that intersection.
They don't. I live right there.
I'm gonna say the same thing. Now, the roundabout up where I am, it's only a 3-road roundabout, and Christensen Trucking uses it constantly. All right, and I'm telling you, when there's somebody at any one of those 3 crosswalks, bike, dog, kids, stroller, whatever, I have never seen someone push through making that pedestrian. I'm not kidding. It's so courteous to that pedestrian, because that will stop the traffic, back it up, whatever. I mean, there's waving, there's smiling. It's honestly, God, it's a great feeling. I drive away from there and I got a smile on my face when I've got to get somewhere in a hurry. I don't mind stopping. I think it's fantastic.
Mr. Those intersections.
Yep.
You can't go 25, 35 miles an
No,
hour. Come
no.
down the place, because you'll roll over.
Mr. President, I call the question.
And we have a very interested person in the Packer game here tonight, so.
I will second your.
46, we've got a
Thank you.
motion. You're gonna make the motion?
No, he made the motion to call for the question. I seconded his motion to call for the question.
All right, I'm calling for a question.
You have to take a vote.
Yeah.
On the call for the question.
If there's an objection.
If there's an objection,
Okay.
okay? So how about let's make the motion, or do we have one?
That was me. Lauren seconded it. There's no one.
No more on the discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. I am still learning. Let's see, Ross Avenue, 47, Tanya, Tricia, lift station easement.
Move to purchase a permanent easement from the landowner at 4903.
Motion by Zagami, second by White.
Wow.
He was first. Yep, I got it. I caught it. There was 3 motions and Husheng was first.
I did
Nope,
that.
Husheng and then White on the second, on the discussion.
I have a question.
Yes.
Have we done?
Isn't this fun?
Have we done?
Isn't
any-
this fun, everybody? This is a blast. Go ahead.
Has any title work been done on the property to assure that you're in a first position, or is this gonna be subject to any other mortgages or deeds or any homeowners association? I'm just curious if our easement that's there, is that run with the land, or is it subject to anything else?
Easement
I'm saying this is
in
a
question right now?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
This is actually from a landowner. It wouldn't have any subordination, I wouldn't think.
But if there's a mortgage against it, then we would be behind the mortgage in our final, would we not? That's why I'm asking if there's any.
But if we have an
title work
easement,
done, or
okay,
legal work.
if they approve an easement, what is, that's there in perpetuity.
unless there's a mortgage ahead of you that forecloses out your easement when they sell the property.
Do you want us to do a title search on this?
Well, I'm just curious if Matt Eady looked at it or if any title work was done on it. That's what
Matt
I'm
helped
asking.
to draft it.
Matt drafted the easement. I don't believe we did any, title background per se. But yeah, I mean, the easement would be into perpetuity, so as the property sells, it would be as part of the land.
Right, but I'm just saying that, is there anything that was done to assure that that's the proper lien position or anything that's there? I just personally wanted to know. That's all I'm asking.
You're questioning whether the property owner has the authority to sign this and then it's clear, or
Correct.
what?
Yeah, I want, if it's clear, if it's
Does that
clear.
mean we should do a title search? And if that's the case, then if you want
Yes.
us to do that, then I guess you can make that a condition of the action perhaps. That'd be appropriate.
Or you can let, if Matt had done that as part of his preparations.
I mean, we could vote on it with a contingency, can we not?
Yes.
Yes.
So we could do that.
I'll change my vote by saying that, I move to approve this subject to doing a title search to make sure there is no mortgage on that $1,000 easement area.
Lauren?
I didn't get the second, so.
Yeah, you did get
I
it.
did?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, I'll
For a second.
second your change.
All right, so on the amendment,
On the amendment?
any more discussion? I'm learning. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. On the original motion,
Motion as amended.
as amended, thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 48, change order number 1, Apache Lane Utility Project Time Extension.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami,
Second.
second by Feeny. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 49, request from DC Everest Education Foundation for village endorsement of the proposed Sports Performance and Recreation Center domed building for promotional materials and their fundraising campaign. So they just want to include our name on the private fundraising?
Can I also make a comment?
Lauren, what'd you say?
Yes, it's, we don't have to give any money, we just have to authorize them to use our.
You didn't make a motion, no? You didn't make the motion, right?
I did not.
Okay.
Just a comment, there is a large donor that Christine Gilmore will be releasing a press release soon, who is contributing to this, so it's a fairly large amount.
That's fantastic. It's a great area we live in.
I'm going to 100% abuse your position on the DCRS school board. Do you approve of this? Is it a good use of taxpayer money?
I will tell you that there will be very little taxpayer money.
I was gonna say, I thought this was all private money.
How about the upkeep?
Yeah.
Upkeep's gonna be taxed.
Chairman?
Yes.
I think this dovetails well with our previous sports complex talks, even though those fell apart. I think that the DC Everest School District has stepped up to the plate.
Correct.
They see the need, and if it's donated, I see it as a similar project for the Green Hack Fieldhouse. I mean, that was entirely paid for by a donation, as far as I recall.
Yeah, the plan is for this to be all funded by the programming, so there would be very little taxpayer money going towards it.
Looking for a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, Shane?
For the operation of the Green Hat Fieldhouse, they generate enough income to cover majority of it.
And this may be the same thing.
And this definitely gonna be the same.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
What's your pleasure?
I move to allow the DC Everest Education Foundation to utilize the village logo and name on their website and on promotional material endorsing this project.
Motion by Feeny, second by, okay.
It was White first.
White, I think.
That's all right. It doesn't.
Second by White, and he doesn't care if it's a second. On any more in the discussion?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the second.
So it's Feeny and White.
Oh, okay. That was.
On any more in the discussion?
On a question, again, I just wonder, now Green Neck Fieldhouse, I know, there is taxpayer money that is funding that.
The vast majority of it though is funded by programming. It generates enough money to operate on its own.
Okay, so is this something that, who's going to be using this, that it's gonna generate revenue?
It'll be a big enough space to, so basically it's an indoor football field where they can put down courts. So if you go out to the website and look at it, it's basically, it's real similar probably to the one up in Rhinelander. But essentially they'll run tournaments, so kind of everything that all those people came in and talked to the village about. You have volleyball tournaments, basketball tournaments, they could probably even do baseball, softball, they'll use it for the band, they'll use it for school. It'll be community events, it's probably big enough where they can hold concerts inside. There's probably a lot of things they can do there.
What are they gonna do with the football field they got now?
So this would just be for training probably purposes, indoor. They're not changing anything, it's just the size of a football field. So it'll have turf, they can play soccer in it. I know that a number of seasons, they didn't even get to, they were spending money by shipping their teams down to Woodside.
True.
My daughters played in their home games in the Dells because we were under snow here.
Yeah, I can also express that if it's large enough, among New Year's, we'll also be hosting their events there as well.
Yeah, it's community events.
It will be. It's a large multi-use building.
Just as long as we don't call it the Metrodome or US Bank Stadium.
Any more in discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 50, Greater Wausau Metro Housing Assessment Participation.
Move to approve the Village of Weston's participation in the assessment.
Motion by Feeny,
Second.
second by White. Anything on the discussion?
Do, the cost is $2,500 and with an estimated staff time, do we have some idea of staff time?
Not yet, they're talking about public informational meetings. The city of Wausau has kind of a task force already, so they're gonna kind of utilize the task force, I think. Marathon County is a part of it, they're the big donor for it, so I'm sure there'll be at least one, if not more, public informational meetings. That would be where, and then our just time to get on a Zoom with them.
I have a question, does this also cover, there's a requirement for the village to file a housing report, is this dovetail with this?
Yeah, we also, because we did that, this will kind of go and look at it more as a metro plan, because we were all kind of doing our own. We're still gonna have to update the housing element. The big thing is everybody's definition of affordable housing is different. And people work and live in different communities, so we need to look at housing stock all over the metro area. And you're gonna see other communities that you would probably not think of being in the metro area, like the Village of Maine and even Marathon City are participating, so.
Can I have a, sorry.
Yes, Steve, or I'm sorry.
The question I would have for our staff, I guess, would be where would the funding come out from?
It comes from I have a general planning budget to do some of this, so it's coming from.
Okay, as long as we have,
available.
as long as we have funding for it, that's just the only.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 51, project number 202-00119, PGA excavation facility amendment to site plan.
I would make a motion to approve the amended site plan that's presented for 7315 Zinder Street.
Motion to approve, motion by Manel.
Question.
Let's get a second up first. Second?
I did second it, I just
Okay.
need a second first.
Okay, I'll second.
Second by Ermeling. Now on the discussion. Go ahead, Feeny.
So the question was actually for the motion. Does that include the following, the condition listed therein? Gravel and asphalt surfaces shall meet applicable setbacks. Was that the intent of your motion, trustee Minell?
It's recommended.
Well, it's in there.
Yes.
It's in there as part of it.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, so
Yeah.
that was the intent.
yeah, that's all in there.
That was my only question.
Okay. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 52, discussion and possible action on increasing membership of the Human Resources Committee. We have several committees, actually most of our committees are 7, or, and commission.
Actually, standing committees are 5,
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
but it's discretionary according to our ordinance if you wish to have a larger membership.
But it would involve changes in two parts of the ordinance, from my gather. It talks about,
I guess one would be the standing committee section,
right,
The other one.
under human resources, it would have to, I think it would have to call out, because it's the only committee that would be above 5, other than the planning commission, which is in a different one.
That's commission, yeah.
Yeah, I copied the language out of the standing committee section.
Right.
I don't believe it. I didn't see it mention a number in there.
Okay,
Well,
well,
that was, but I guess you're right. We would have to amend it and say human resource committee would be made up of
okay,
seven.
if you're willing
Okay.
to sit here and listen to, I'll make the motion with that wording in it.
Sure.
I'll move to approve the amending chapter 2 administration, article 2 sub 2, village board, division 2, sub 2-3 committees, section 2.214, standing committees. We're almost there. 4.2 human resources, to add the increase in membership in accordance with chapter 2 administration, article 2 sub 2 village board, division 2 sub 2-3 committees. Section 2.214 standing committees, membership, and direct staff to draft step changes for board action.
Motion as stated by White. Second. Good job. Second by Feeny. On the discussion.
Okay, is the reasoning for this because you aren't getting a quorum, or what is the?
I've got someone that wants to be on there and they don't wanna knock somebody off. They don't wanna wait. And, we've got two very high qualified professionals on there right now. And, this would be another one. There's another one that we'd like to call. So we would have a very good, professional group of HR people on there.
Okay,
I mean, right now we have, none of us, I dabble with a lot of HR, but I'm not a professional. And in most cases, the chair and the vice chair aren't from us.
right,
And now our off one is Fred. This will be Fred's last one because he wants to be on planning. He doesn't want to be on HR anymore, but he wants planning. So he's gonna try to get planning next year. We'll see how it goes. But he didn't want to be on HR this year, but he actually resigned, and I can say this.
Mhm.
And then I had a phone conversation with him and I said he should stay on, so.
Arm twisted.
Hmm?
You arm twisted a little bit.
I'm twisted.
well, no, I was just kind of wondering what, while, and what do you do when they step down and you've got quite a few members?
I guess the question I would have, is it hard to recruit enough candidates for it, though, because it just kind of.
This last go around, I talked to Keith quite a bit, and some of you, I think I did, but HR and finance was something that, we were very lucky to get Mark on there from Peoples. I was really happy. Sherry gets, requests all the time. We went after several people in finance and several people moved out. Out of the area completely. HR, I think we went through that and then we got lucky with, Mickey? No.
Yep, Mickey.
Oh, I was right, Mickey, Luby,
Dirk's
Dirk's Luby, yep. And I think she's with Mid-State, Technical College, yep, so.
As far as a quorum, there's always, there's the municipal ordinance that allows the chair, appoint members to make a quorum.
Especially if there's, you attend almost all the meetings.
I do.
I do almost every meeting.
I just was wondering what the reason for.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, HR is pretty serious.
Yeah.
It is. And I think sometimes, I've been on that committee and there's a lot of times I'm hip shooting until we get, Sherry helps us out, gets us resources and stuff. But there's some.
That was my only.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, great question. Any more in the discussion?
I'll just add that, as
Chair?
yeah, I am chair of this one.
Yes, you are.
As, chair, I know that I'm out of my depth and I could use some extra help. That's all.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Attorney referrals. This is a standing point on here if we all agreed that we would do this together. Is there any attorney referrals? I don't believe there is. Hearing none, our next move is to move into closed session for 19.851 C. regarding employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, administrator evaluation. Can I not go in there, because can we just do a quick break? I've been here since 4:30.
Could we just enter into person and go on?
Yeah.
Okay, what?
I move to enter into closed session for 1985 Karen 1, Karen C, and request roll call vote.
I will second.
We have a, yeah, we have to wait for Steve now.